The smoke still hung in the air when Captain Elias Gray pulled the child from the rubble. He wasn't sure if the alien girl was alive at first. Her soft blue skin was covered in dust, and her tiny chest barely moved. Her silver eyes fluttered, open as he checked her pulse. She didn't speak, just looked at him with a mix of fear and pain. It had been chaos. 1 minute, Elias was walking through the diplomatic zone of HFY Prime, and the next, everything exploded. A missile, not from Earth, not from HFY, hit the plaza. The war no one wanted had started without warning. He carried her through the shattered buildings, ignoring the warning signs on his scanner. Radiation levels were rising, and biosignatures showed more incoming threats. But he couldn't leave her. She was small, barely 5 years old by human guess, and she held onto his jacket like he was her last hope. At the edge of the blast zone, he found shelter inside a collapsed communications tower. It was dark and cold, but the walls were thick and shielded. The outside world was on fire, and the signals were all jammed. Elias was cut off, no command, no backup, no idea Earth even knew he was alive. The girl didn't eat the rations he offered. She just turned her head and whimpered. He tried everything. Warm water, soft protein gels, she refused. Her body started to weaken, and panic gripped him. He'd survived battles, assassins, even vacuum exposure once, but this? Watching a child fade away in front of him? That was something he wasn't trained for. On the third day, she spoke. Her voice was faint, musical. She spoke in broken galactic trade common, mixing it with her native clicks and tones. Elias understood just enough. Feeding must be sacred. Not food, not from packet, she said, pointing to his chest. Her fingers rested over his heart. Elias didn't understand. She pressed her forehead against his and whispered a word again and again. Surai. He recorded her words and ran them through his translator. The result made no sense at first. Life-bound, spirit-bonded feeder. The AI assistant in his suit, running low on power, confirmed it. Her species had a strange biological link. A youngling must feed through skin contact during trauma. It was more than survival, it was a sacred act. A bond. Elias had no time to argue with alien culture. She was dying. He allowed her to press her face and small mouth against the bare skin of his shoulder. There was a strange warmth, like her skin pulsed in time with his heart. A soft glow appeared on her back. Her breathing became calm. Her strength slowly returned. Hours passed. She looked at him again. This time, her eyes had something more than fear-trust. Outside, the world was still burning. Inside, something had changed. They were no longer strangers. Every time she fed, she would hum softly. The light from her back would flicker, like a song being sung through light. Elias would close his eyes and listen. He began to sleep better, even though danger waited outside. He started calling her Luma. On the 6th night, he heard movement above them. Heavy boots. Not human. Elias turned off his internal light and held the girl close. She didn't cry. She placed her small hands on his cheeks and whispered again, Surai. He nodded, holding his breath. A huge shadow moved past the rubble opening. Not HFY soldiers. Not human marines either. Hunters. A bounty was placed on survivors after the blast. HFY's enemies saw a chance. Elias was high value, and alien children? Rare prizes. They were being hunted. Elias knew the power core of the tower wouldn't last more than 2 days. If he stayed, they'd both be captured or worse. If he moved, he'd have to pass through fire and enemies. But Luma looked stronger now. Her skin had regained its soft shimmer. Her touch no longer felt cold. They would survive. He had to find her people if they were still alive. If not, she would stay with him. As the sun rose over the dead city, Elias made his decision. The war had begun unexpectedly. But something else had begun too, something stranger, deeper. He wasn't just a soldier anymore. He was bound to her. Through her, to something far more ancient than war. Elias moved before the sun fully rose. The sky was a dull gray, thick with ash and the scent of burning metal. He carried Luma on his back, her small arms wrapped around his neck. She stayed quiet, alert, her breath warm against his skin. He had mapped the path during the night an old tunnel system used for power conduits stretched beneath the ruins. It was risky. Some parts had collapsed. Others were flooded. But above ground, the hunters were getting closer. He could hear their strange machines growling through the dust dot as he entered the tunnel. He sealed the hatch behind him with broken steel rods and a small mine from his belt. It wouldn't stop them forever, but it would slow them down. Luma shivered. The air was cold and thick. Elias wrapped her in his jacket. She reached for his bare neck again, resting her face against it. The feeding was quiet this time, like a breath shared between them. He no longer flinched when she did it. It felt natural now. As they walked, she spoke. My people live deep, mountains, sacred caves, hidden. You think they're still alive? He asked Dot. She didn't answer directly. Instead, she touched the glowing lines on her arm. They pulsed faintly. If lights die, all gone. If lights live, some still breathing. It wasn't much hope, but Elias took it. He kept moving. Hours passed in silence. The tunnel twisted like a metal snake. Parts were still powered, humming softly. Others were filled with debris. Twice he had to crawl through narrow cracks. Luma never cried. She held tight and followed his movements like she had done it before. They rested briefly near a broken ventilation fan. Elias found an old ration box and 2 cracked med kits. Most of it was useless, but 1 vial of stim serum was still active. He kept it for emergencies. Why do you trust me? He asked her. Luma looked up. Her silver eyes didn't blink. Because you feed me, not just body, soul. You didn't leave me. Elias stared at her, unsure what to say. He had saved people before. That was part of the job. But this felt different. She didn't look at him like a soldier. She looked at him like something more. A sudden rumble shook the tunnel. Luma gasped and grabbed his arm. Elias pulled her close and crouched low. The sound came from behind. The mine must have gone off. The hunters had entered the tunnel. He picked her up and ran. The light strips on the wall flickered as he passed. His boots splashed through water and slid over loose cables. He knew they weren't far. Their scanners would pick up his heat trail soon. They reached a junction, 3 paths. The central one led deeper into the old city systems. The right tunnel was collapsed. The left had a warning sign. Biozone 07, do not enter. No time to think. He took the left. The air changed almost immediately. Warmer, more humid. And something else organic. Plant life? Underground? Strange vines glowed faintly on the walls. Luma reached out and touched them. They reacted to her touch, curling gently like they knew her. This place, old place. Our ancestors hid here once, she said softly. Elias kept moving, but slower now. The walls were changing. Metal gave way to stone. The vines grew thicker, and strange flowers bloomed in the cracks. He felt eyes watching him, though nothing moved. They reached a chamber at the heart of the biozone. It was circular, filled with glowing plants and a soft pool of water. In the center stood a tall stone marked with symbols. Luma walked to it. She placed her hand on the stone. The symbols lit up. A deep hum filled the air. The plants shimmered. From the walls, small drones emerged, not war machines, but old caretakers. They scanned Elias and Luma and then floated back. What is this place? Elias whispered. Luma looked back at him. Sanctuary. He sighed in relief, but only for a moment. A noise echoed behind them. The hunters had caught the trail. They were coming. Luma turned toward Elias, calm and still. You fed me. Now, I feed you. He frowned, confused, until she touched his chest with both hands. A burst of warmth flowed through him. His wounds faded. His fatigue vanished. What? What did you do? I shared my life. Like you shared yours. You are Surai. Now, I am yours too. Elias stared at her. The bond wasn't just survival. It was becoming something deeper. But there was no more time to speak. The hunters. We're almost here. And now, the sanctuary had to become a battlefield. The vines moved first. As the sound of the hunters echoed down the tunnel, the plants around Elias and Luma began to shift. Slowly, they curled away from the walls, revealing narrow cracks and hidden holes. The entire sanctuary seemed alive. Luma stood in front of Elias, her tiny hand still glowing from the bond. They're near, Elias said, drawing his sidearm. It had limited charge left, but he would use every last shot to protect her. Luma didn't look afraid. She placed both hands on the glowing stone again. More symbols lit up. The ground rumbled as a part of the chamber wall slowly split open, revealing a dark corridor behind it. This way, she whispered. Elias didn't ask how she knew. He followed her into the darkness. The corridor was ancient, older than anything he had seen on Havith. The walls were covered in strange carvings. Light came from small floating orbs that lit up as they passed. Luma walked ahead of him like she had done this before. They will not enter here quickly, she said. They fear the old ways. But they'll come anyway, Elias replied. For me, for you. She stopped and turned to face him. Her expression was calm. You are not just a soldier now. You are part of our blood. They can take a warrior, but not a sacred bond. That is death to them. Elias didn't fully understand the depth of her culture, but one thing was clear: whatever they had now was more than survival. She had shared life with him. She had marked him. They moved deeper until the corridor opened into a massive underground hall. It was quiet. A single massive tree stood at the center, its roots spread across the floor like veins. Its trunk was silver, and its leaves glowed soft blue. Around the tree were old stone platforms, and on one of them lay 3 small alien forms, Luma's kind. Bodies. Luma ran to them. She knelt beside them, placing her forehead gently on each of theirs. Her breath grew shallow, her hands trembled. Elias knelt beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. They were my sisters, she whispered. They never found the bond, never fed. They faded alone. Elias said nothing. He placed a small silver pin, his Earth Forces badge, on one of the stone platforms. A quiet sign of respect. Luma looked up at the tree. This is the mother root. It remembers everything, even those who are gone. The tree pulsed softly as if reacting to her voice. Then noise. Footsteps. The hunters had reached the sanctuary. Elias stood, weapon ready. The hall had only one entrance. Luma turned to the tree, pressed her hands against it, and began to sing, not in words, but in long soft tones that vibrated in the air. The ground beneath the entrance shifted. Roots began to rise, slowly forming a barrier. It wouldn't hold forever. A shape appeared in the tunnel, tall, heavy armor. A hunter. Elias fired once. The shot struck its chest, slowing it down but not stopping it. Another shot. Sparks flew. Then his weapon died. The hunter stepped forward, raising its blaster. Suddenly, light exploded from behind Elias. Luma stood tall, glowing from head to toe. Her body floated slightly above the ground. Her eyes shone like stars. She opened her arms. Tree responded. Its roots lashed out, wrapping around the hunter's legs. The vines dragged the creature back into the tunnel. Its screams were short. Silence returned. Luma dropped to her knees, breathing hard. Elias rushed to her. Are you okay? He asked, lifting her gently. She nodded weakly. It takes strength to call the old life. I gave much. Elias held her close. Then rest. I'll guard this place. She shook her head. You must take the seed." She reached into a hollow in the tree and pulled out a small glowing orb worm, pulsing like a heartbeat. "This is the future of my people. Only one seed remains. If I fall, it must live. You must carry it." Elias looked at the seed then. At her. "I'm not your kind," she smiled faintly. "But you are my bond. You are Tsurai. You fed me. You are one of us now." The root wall behind them trembled. More hunters were coming. Bigger ones. Elias placed the seed into a hidden pocket on his chest armor and picked her up again. "Then let's go. I'll carry your future and protect it with everything I have." The tree's roots opened another path, one that led even deeper, away from the hunters and into the unknown. Elias took one last look at the mother root. Then he stepped forward, carrying Luma and the last hope of her people on his shoulders. The war wasn't over, but something stronger than war had been born in that sacred place. The new tunnel was warmer, almost peaceful. Strange glowing moss lit the way as Elias walked deeper into the earth. Luma slept in his arms, her breathing slow but steady. The seed she had given him pressed softly against his chest, pulsing like a second heartbeat. He didn't know where the tunnel led, but he trusted it. The sanctuary had opened this path for them. Maybe it was guiding them to safety. Or something more. After 2 hours, the tunnel opened into a long chamber filled with pillars. The air was fresh. A slow wind moved through the space, carrying a scent like clean rain. Elias laid Luma down gently on a bed of moss and took off his jacket to cover her. She stirred, then opened her eyes. "We are close," she whispered. "To what?" Elias asked. She pointed to the far wall. "To where my mother died. To where the bond first began." Elias stood still. "That word again, bond. You keep saying that. What does it truly mean, Luma? What did I become the day I fed you?" She looked up at him. Her eyes no longer held fear, only knowing. "It is more than food, more than help. When one of my kind accepts life through touch, we share memory, blood, future. We become one." Elias swallowed hard. "So I'm your father?" She shook her head gently. "No, not only. In your words. Protector, lifebinder, chosen. The bond is sacred, not just family, it is eternal." He looked away, struggling to understand the depth of what she said. He wasn't ready for that kind of weight. He had only meant to save a child. Now he carried her soul inside him. A sound broke his thoughts. A soft chime, like wind through crystal. From the far side of the chamber, a light formed. Elias raised his weapon by instinct, but Luma touched his arm. "It's not danger, it's calling us." They walked slowly toward the light. As they approached, it formed into a door made of light and stone. The carvings on it were ancient, shaped like stars and spirals. Elias reached out in the door, responded, glowing brighter, then slowly sliding open. Inside was a wide hall, at the center, a crystal dome. Beneath it floated a body, a woman. Her skin was blue like Luma's but darker. Her hair floated around her head like silken water. She wore robes that shimmered like starlight. Her eyes were closed. Luma fell to her knees. "Mother," she whispered. Elias realized this was a tomb. No, more than that. It was a memory chamber. "The queen?" Elias asked. "Yes," Luma said, tears in her eyes. "She was the last light mother. Killed when the war began." Luma touched a panel near the dome. A projection lit up the space images of Luma's kind living peacefully, singing, planting trees that glowed with energy. Then came ships, explosions, fire, humans, and others. Elias saw images of Earth soldiers fighting beside Havath warriors. Then betrayal, missiles falling, colonies burning. He clenched his fists. "We didn't start that war. I was there. It wasn't us." "I know," Luma said quietly, "but the truth was buried. Many of my people believe otherwise." "Elias." stared at the image of the Light Mother. And she knew. She tried to stop the war. That's why they killed her. The dome dimmed, and the chamber fell quiet again. Elias sat down beside Luma. So what now? You're the last of your line, Luma nodded. And you are my bond. That makes you the guardian of the seed, until it grows. Grows into what? A new world. A new people. My people cannot be saved. But they can be reborn. Elias stood slowly. Then we find the right place to plant it, and protect it. Luma smiled. Tired but filled with something stronger hope. Before they could leave, Elias's wristpad blinked red. A signal. He tapped it quickly. Captain Gray? Is this Elias Gray? Respond if alive. Earth Command has received fragments of your beacon. Evac in progress. Confirm location. Elias stared at it. Earth knew he was alive. He looked at Luma. We can leave. Go back to Earth. She looked away. Earth won't want me. I'm not human. You're mine now, Elias said firmly. They'll have to understand. The message repeated. Luma stepped forward, took his hand and nodded. Then take me to your world, and I will take my people's last hope there. Elias tapped the transmitter. Command, this is Captain Elias Gray. I'm alive. I have precious cargo. Prepare for medical and diplomatic emergency. And tell them, he looked at Luma. Tell them I'm bringing my daughter home. The shuttle landed in silence. It touched down just beyond Earth's Central Recovery Base on Luna 9, secure station orbiting Earth's upper atmosphere. Elias stepped out first, his armor cracked, his body worn, but his grip on Luma was steady. Behind him, 2 armed guards flanked the platform. They lowered their weapons when they saw the child in his arms. A medical team rushed forward. She's stable, Elias said quickly. No quarantine required. Her biology is unique but non-hostile. The doctor hesitated. Sir, she's an alien unknown origin. She must be taken to Zenobio Labs for full scans. No, Elias said sharply. She stays with me. She's under my protection. She's my daughter. The guards exchanged glances. The doctor paused, then backed off slightly. Very well, Captain. We'll prepare private quarters. Inside the base, lights were bright and sterile. Everything felt too clean, too artificial after the deep earth tunnels and glowing trees. Luma clung to Elias's jacket. Her eyes darted around. The walls frightened her. The people avoided her gaze. To them, she was a threat. A symbol of something. They didn't understand. Elias wasn't surprised when the command council requested him within the hour. He left, Luma resting in a private medroom, and entered the council chamber. 12 officers sat in a wide circle. General Ray, a sharp-eyed woman with silver hair, stood at the center. We're glad you made it, Captain, she began. Your signal saved lives. But now you must explain something we find very hard to accept. Elias stood tall. You want to know why I brought her? Yes, she's alien. And more than that, there are whispers you bonded with her, that you fed her. Is this true? He nodded. It's true. A murmur moved through the chamber. Ree narrowed her eyes. That act, in her culture, is sacred, permanent. Some reports say it connects lives, even souls. Yes, Elias said. And I accepted it. I gave her life when she was dying. She returned it to me when I would have fallen. I don't expect you to understand, but I won't let you take her away. You're a soldier, another officer said. Not her father. I'm more than that now, Elias replied. The room fell silent. Then Ree leaned forward. There are already protests on Earth. People are afraid. They think she's a threat. Some want her sent to containment. Others want her gone entirely. She's just a child, Elias said, voice tight with anger. She's the last of her kind. She carries a seed that can restart her people's entire existence. And she trusted me. One of the advisors spoke coldly. And if she grows into something we can't control? Elias stepped forward. Then that's on me. You want to punish someone, punish me. But she stays safe. She stays free. General Ree studied him a long moment. Then she sighed. You've always been reckless, Elias, but maybe that's what made you the best. You'll keep her in isolation, voluntary, not forced. We'll assign protection. But if anything happens, if she shows even one threat, I'll be the first to stop it, he said. You have my word. He returned to the medroom hours later. Luma sat on the floor, staring at the light above her. She looked tired. They don't like me, she said softly. Elias knelt beside her. No, but they don't know you, not yet. We'll change that. She touched his hand. Am I safe here? With me, he said. Always. She nodded, then placed the glowing seed into his palm. It must grow soon, but not here. This place is not alive enough, Elias thought. The forests of old Earth were mostly gone. But there were places, hidden valleys, preserved biodomes, untouched land on Mars's green zones. We'll find a place, he promised, where it can bloom, and you can be more than a memory. Just then, the lights flickered. An alarm sounded across the base. Security breach at medical level. Unauthorized drone entering the facility. Elias grabbed his gear and held Luma close. Stay behind me. The doors opened. One drone floated in, small but armed. It scanned the room. Luma's glow rose like a shield as the drone targeted her. Elias fired first. His shot hit the drone's core, destroying it in one burst. The room filled with smoke. Someone tried to kill her, he said aloud. This wasn't just fear anymore. Someone wanted her gone, no matter what it cost. Elias held her tighter. Now Earth had truly become the battlefield, and he wasn't going to run. They moved her at night. Only Elias, Luma, and one trusted pilot were part of the mission. The order was silent. Off the record. After the drone attack, the command agreed to let Elias take Luma somewhere safe, but only if they vanished. No records. No traces. No return. They gave up everything. Rank, home, identity. The pilot, a quiet man named Vero, didn't ask questions. His ship was old but silent. They left Luna 9 and traveled for days, using old smuggler routes, through systems no longer patrolled. Their destination was Earth's last untouched forest zone, Arc 3, deep within the Ural wildlands. The old trees there still breathed clean air. The soil was pure. It was one of the last places left where life hadn't been tamed. Luma pressed her face to the shuttle window as they descended. Her silver eyes reflected the trees below. This place, it's alive. Elias looked down too. He had never seen so much green in one place. The trees were massive, their canopies wide. Birds soared. Rivers glowed in the starlight. This is where we'll plant the seed, he said. When they landed, Elias stepped out first. The forest was silent, thick with energy. It felt sacred, just like the sanctuary where he first met Luma. She followed, holding the seed carefully in her hands. It pulsed stronger now, as if it sensed it was home. Together, they walked deep into the forest. At the center of a clearing, Luma stopped. This is the place, she said. She knelt and dug into the soft ground with her hands. Elias helped, his fingers shaking. This was the end of one world, and the beginning of another. They placed the seed in the earth. Luma placed her hands over it and whispered. Soft light passed from her into the soil. The seed responded, sprouting instantly. Tiny roots pushed through the dirt. A small glowing tree began to rise. Elias stepped back. In just moments, the tree reached his height, its trunk silver, its leaves shimmering blue like the one they left behind in the sanctuary. It's alive, Luma said, smiling. It remembers. She fell silent, then looked up at Elias. It is done. He knelt beside her. So what happens now? She tilted her head. Now we live. We wait. The tree will call others lost ones, my people who still wander. It will pull their dreams home. And you? She reached for his hand. I stay with you, forever. Elias pulled her into a soft embrace. You don't have to say forever. You're still just a child. No, she said quietly. I'm not. The bond made me grow faster, inside. I carry more than memory now. I carry all of them. He saw it in her eyes. She was still small, still soft. But something older now looked out from behind those eyes. Something ancient. Something sacred. You gave up your life for me, she said. Your world. Your name. Why? Elias smiled softly. Because I saw something in you I thought I'd never see again. What? Hope. The tree behind them pulsed gently, like a second heartbeat between them. That night, they built a small shelter. It wasn't much, just wood, fire, and warmth. But it was enough. For weeks they lived quietly. Elias hunted small game, purified water, studied the growth of the tree. Luma sang to it every morning, feeding it light from her palms. And then, one morning it happened. The tree lit up completely. A signal burst from it, visible in the sky like a beam of dancing blue light. It didn't send fear. It didn't call for war, it called for peace. Within days, strange lights appeared in the sky's ships, small and quiet, landed far from the forest. They didn't approach, not yet. But Elias felt it. The first of her people had heard the call. Luma stood tall, watching the sky. They're coming home. He stood beside her. Are you ready? She looked up at him, took his hand, and smiled. With you here, yes. Elias squeezed her hand gently. He had started this journey as a soldier. Now he was more, a guardian. A father. A part of something ancient and new. He looked at the glowing tree. Its roots were deep in alien soil. But its heart beat on earth, just like her, and just like him. Together, they had done something no war ever could. They had created life. They had built a new beginning.